Taking grade C, Matt Toledo.
Hello, everybody, and a wonderful good afternoon to you all. Man, a beautiful day for baseball. We have LA Valley College coming all the way from the San Fernando Valley out to Antelope Valley College. They have taken game one of this series as it stands right now. 35 games into the season, they have a 21-14 record, which bodes pretty well against the Marauders, who had a rough game last time against the LA Valley team. They come into today's game with a 14-20 record. They're 4-12 on the season, and it's going to be a little uphill battle. But today on the mound for the Marauders, Matthew Toledo, who has turned things around here in the second half of the season, looking to make a change. And this is a perfect opportunity to introduce our play-by-play commentator today, Jeff Stoynoff, who's joining me from remote as we have been doing things here in Antelope Valley. Jeff, how are you doing today? And we are happy to have Antelope Valley Marauder baseball.
I am excited as well. Glad to be here. Thank you, Emery. And indeed, as you prefaced, outstanding weather for baseball, a game-time temperature of 71 degrees. The wind not as brisk as last week when we were last on the air with Marauder Baseball. Just 7 miles an hour today out in the desert, so a little more manageable for the pitchers. And you indeed hit on it with Matthew Toledo. After a very shaky first 3 outings on the season, he has settled down very nicely as this season has gone on. So his numbers very much belie his effectiveness of late in particular. And you look to his last outing, which was on April 11th at Bakersfield, 7 innings of work, allowed just 3 hits, no walks, struck out 7, 2 runs. They were both unearned. He takes a hard luck loss in that one, or I should say the Marauders take a hard luck loss in that one, giving up 2 runs in the ninth to drop that game 4-3. But you certainly can't lay any of that at the feet of Matthew Toledo, who has been outstanding as this season has worn on. Well, we are set to get underway, and leadoff batter Royce Clayton Jr. standing in for the Monarchs. First offering from Toledo, over for a strike.
Well, and of course he would start.
And Emery, the first thing I was just going to say, the first thing that leaps out about Matthew Toledo and the last outing is the no walks in 7 innings. So the control has been outstanding.
Yeah, the control has been extremely outstanding, and the word from the booth up here amongst the guys who play with him is that if he has his cutter working, he's going to be extremely effective against these hitters moving the ball inside and outside, and that was what was really useful against Bakersfield. And that, of course, he starts out first pitch fastball as a strike to Royce Clayton. It was a cutter inside, so we'll see if he continues to use it to effectiveness as the day will progress.
Clayton batting .286 on the season, coming in a home run, 23 runs batted in. Here's the 0-2. Back to the screen. Well, he went back to the cutter.
Yeah, he comes back with the cutter. Now that foul ball was directly back into the netting, and that's an indicator to the pitcher and the catcher that he is seeing the cutter pretty well, and he's going to need to potentially be a little more precise here with his pitch location and or mix it up. You never necessarily want to go directly to your breaking stuff early on in an outing as a starting pitcher, but if the situation presents itself, maybe it's time to get nasty here.
And he goes to the breaking ball. Chopper in front of the mound. It's off the plate, so a foul ball. Let's start to set the defense for you as Clayton Jr. returns. Keon Moseni in left, Jason Zhang in center, Jack Rogers in right, Mason Johnson at third, Jack Taylor at short, Zach Terry at second, Trey Thomas at first, the battery Joe Uribe behind the plate, Matthew Toledo on the mound, and it's a return to the standard starting lineup for Brian Moses and the Marauders as they try to get themselves back on track after the rough outing in Game 1 of this series, a 16-4 win for the Monarchs. 0-2, hard hit on the left side, but Johnson there. He'll go across to retire Clayton.
Oh, that was a hard-hit ground ball through the left side. And, he comes back with that breaking ball there, and it was the classic back-to-back. I throw you a nasty one, you swing and miss, and then I throw you one that's just good enough in the zone. And he takes advantage of it, hits really hard to the left side. But able to get away with one, there's a reason why you have, all your infielders placed where they're at. And a nice first out here for the Marauders.
Yeah, Emery, it's fascinating to me watching pitchers and getting to 2 strikes and they try to be, it appears some pitchers try to be so fine with their pitches on 2 strikes, maybe focus too much on trying to deliver the perfect pitch and maybe get the strikeout instead of trusting the defense behind you. And the Marauders have a very solid defense for their troubles keeping runs off the board. 1 ball and no strikes on Tyler Olivas, a wave and a miss. And the count evened up at a ball and a strike. Olivas comes in batting .322, a home run, 22 runs batted in. Here's the delivery way inside.
Yeah, he just
Did that even go behind him?
Yeah, it went right behind him, Jeff. Decides to go with the breaking ball again. You know, he seems pretty confident with it, especially when it's down in the zone and away to the batter. That's where he was successful the first time when he got the swing and a foul off, almost for the strikeout against Royce Clayton. And he gets a swing and a miss as well from Tyler Olivas, and they just go back with it. But that was a little bit off the mark there.
2 balls and a strike on Olivas. Just outside for a ball. 3 balls and a strike. Olivas to be followed by Bobby Velasco, who's coming off a monster performance in Game 1 of this series with a couple of home runs. Just underway. It's Marauder Baseball on SoCalCollegeSports.com. The 3-1 to Olivas. Fly ball right field, playable for Rogers. He'll track it down for out number 2.
That's just a well-placed cutter on the outside corner that he comes back with. And that was the pitch that, earlier on in the one that was fouled directly back into the netting by Royce Clayton, he left it up in the zone and it didn't break nearly as much. But he comes back with the cutter there late at that at-bat after, missing with his breaking ball. And that was a good pitch selection to get the guy off balance. He's reaching across the plate, trying to do something with the pitch that he probably doesn't have a good offering yet. And that's why he flew out to right field.
That'll bring up Velasco. Mentioned the 2 home runs in Game 1. In for a strike.
I will say one thing about the venue of LA Valley College. It's very similar to here at AVC. The wind comes across the San Fernando Valley, usually from the coast, and that would be from the west side, and the field does face north. And so that wind will cut across the field, and it is a little bit of a launching pad out there. Ooh, nice breaking ball.
Just inside for a ball. Count even up on a ball and a strike. The numbers on Velasco, he's batting .333, 2 home runs, 17 runs batted in. So the first 2 home runs of the season for Velasco came in Game 1 of this series.
And AVC, or LA Valley rather, not going to really.
Check swing on the right side. Slow roller, a race to the bag, and Thomas will win it. A 3-up, 3-down first inning for Toledo and the Marauders through half an inning. LA Valley nothing. AVC coming to bat on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Right-hander Daniel Tovar makes his 11th start of the season, coming in with a record of 1-2, an ERA of 4.03. In 44 2/3 innings, he's given up 43 hits, walked 13, struck out 31, and well, the eerie similarities continue because Tovar himself coming off a terrific outing that was a hard luck loss at LA Mission. He went 7 innings, allowing 4 hits, walking 2, striking out 8, just 1 earned run, but it was at the end of a 2-1 loss at LA Mission for the Monarchs. So much like Toledo, Tovar simultaneously coming off a great outing and trying to rebound from a loss. And he'll start with Jack Rogers, to be followed by Zach Terry and Keon Moseni in the bottom of the first. Well, just underway from Lancaster with Marauder Baseball. First pitch to Rogers, inside for a ball. And there is a good look at the right-hander Daniel Tovar. Rogers stands in. Here's the 1-0. Breaking ball. They tried to hold up. They'll appeal down.
He did not swing there, Jeff. So that's going to be called a ball. Looked like he just held back. It was a little bit close there.
Rogers up to 5 home runs on the season, 20 runs batted in, an average of 261. And now he's way out in front, 3 balls and no strikes.
It's 2 balls and 1 strike, Jeff.
It's 2-1. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The first pitch was a fastball on the outside corner.
All right. Well, that's well inside. I'm ready to call that one. 3 balls and a strike on Rogers. Overall, LA Valley 21-14 on the season, but those numbers don't tell the entire story. They started 4-7, so 17-7 here in their last 24 games. So this is a team playing great baseball coming in, and we certainly saw that in Game 1 as they jumped all over the Marauders for a big win. But now the next 2 come here in Lancaster today and Saturday.
Yeah, we'll have coverage
Marauders
for
will look
both
to turn
them,
the
Jeff.
tables. Indeed.
And that will wrap
Full
up.
count on Rogers. High for a ball.
Wow. Leadoff walks, and we talked about it against Bakersfield, Jeff, oftentimes resulting in runs scored. And in terms of your first 3 batters coming up between Zach Terry and Keon Moseni, let alone Jack Rogers, this is a dangerous part of the lineup, especially for LA Valley. They need to consider exactly how they play this out. And the one thing that I've seen from LA Valley, especially with their pitch design so far today, has been the emphasis of using a fastball. He's only broken out 1 curveball in that entire count, and he was a little bit wild, but he starts out with a fastball for a strike here, Jeff.
Gets ahead of Terry, no balls and a strike. Indeed, walks could be a major factor in this one. It's a potent offense playing in a hitter's park, and you certainly don't want to give them extra runners on base. That's the challenge for both pitchers. Fly ball right field. Olivas near the line and has it for out number 1. Elvis Park in left, Royce Clayton Jr. in center, Tyler Olivas in right. Around the infield, Sean David at third, Tino Valdez at short, Luis Torres at second, Will White at first, the battery, Bobby Velasco behind the plate, and Daniel Tovar on the mound. That'll bring up Keon Moseni. And we can start talking about what a great season and what a great hitter Keon Moseni is, especially as the season has gone. There goes the runner, the throw down to get Rogers. And they do.
Well, running yourself
Well, it's a calculated risk, Emery, to put the runner in motion with a hitter like Moseni at the plate. And instead, you take yourself potentially out of an inning as its base is empty, 2 down with Moseni at the plate, who comes in batting .455, a home run, 31 runs batted in. I wonder, and I'd be interested in your thought on this, having been in the dugout for a long time yourself. If there's a little bit of, well, we've got our best hitter at the plate, maybe we could sneak Rogers to second. They might not be expecting us to take that kind of gamble and put a runner in motion with one of our big sticks at the plate. 2 balls and no strikes.
That can definitely be the coach's decision there, and sometimes guys are just going to leave on their own. Jack Rogers, I don't have the statistic pulled up directly in front of me right now. Give me 1 second.
Fly ball, right field. Olivas moving back. All right, help me out here, Emery, because we didn't cut away.
It's a home run, Jeff.
Okay, all right. We didn't really get to it. It looked like it was well hit.
Yes, it was.
Still on home plate, but Moseni, well, this is what we've been seeing really all season long, and it only continues as Moseni, a solo shot to get the Marauders on the board.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, if the baseball gods are real, and I certainly think that there's some merit to that, I will say that that is the ultimate smack in the face, is runner getting caught in between second and first, and then the exact next thing that happens is that the guy goes completely yard out to right field. I tell you what, Jeff, that is exactly what happened there, and Keon Moseni just being one of your big sticks on the season. I mean, goodness gracious, don't run yourself in outs. That could have been 2 runs up.
Second home run on the season, 32nd run batted in. So the Marauders on the board here in the bottom of the first with a 1-0 lead. That'll bring up Aiden Jabara, the designated hitter today. Fouled back, count evened up at a ball and a strike on Jabara, who comes in batting .352. 4 home runs, 31 runs batted in. Yeah, Moseni, to me, I think is an interesting case. That's just his second home run of the season, but it's his 15th extra base hit. And I have to wonder, as good a hitter as Keon Moseni is, if the focus right now, when you think about the next level, is adding a little bit of strength so that he can start to take some of these hard-hit balls that he's so good at delivering out of the park and bring that home run total up. I think it's just maybe a slight adjustment and getting the ball a little bit more up in the air. Slow roller to third. David on the run, not in time to get Jabara, who's got an infield hit.
Yeah, Jabara just really quick out of the box there. Does a great job of laying it out, and he was safe by almost a step, Jeff. And I was going to add something to your comment about Keon Moseni. You have to remember, at this level of junior college baseball, these guys are often in their first 2 years of college baseball. They're just out of high school. And it's easy to look at some of these guys and go, man, these look like grown men. But at the end of the day, they're 18, 19, 20 years old, most of these men. And the chance for them to get bigger is right now. This is their time for them to get muscle, just get stronger, hit the weight room, start eating the right way, and start learning about how their body is going to, muscle up and how they need to tone their body down for this kind of thing. And remember, the next level after the 4-year level of college is professional baseball, where they don't swing with metal bats anymore, and you don't have the relief that a metal bat might give you. So that is a very excellent point, Jeff.
Line drive down the left field line, actually cut off by Park for a base hit. But back-to-back hits, so 3 hits in a row after 2 were down. And the Marauders still going here in the bottom of the first inning. Yeah, I think with a guy like Keon Moseni, right now, just out of high school and might just have that strength where he's got the warning track power. Obviously, he's able to take it out, as we just saw, but more of that warning track power, and you don't want to sacrifice the average. But, boy, if you can add just a little bit of muscle, a little bit of power, and start getting those warning track fly balls out of here, he's a guy who could start putting up even more prodigious numbers. That went outside for a ball.
Well, Trey Thomas up at the plate, too. This is not a guy that you necessarily feel safe with as a pitcher. This lineup that they have set up here for AVC is really, really high on the batting average. Trey Thomas coming in today with 39 hits on the season. He's batting .333, Jeff.
And a couple of home runs, so another guy with the power to take it out of here. Well inside. 2 balls and no strikes. Yeah, there is no let-up in this Marauder lineup from top to bottom, especially here in Lancaster. In this park where the ball does tend to carry. Tough assignment for Daniel Tovar.
Yeah, Daniel. Well, and, in junior college, you only have an opportunity to play at these places one time. When I was playing in the WSC Northern Division, we got to at least play at the other team's field twice during the season, not just once. It was a two-game series that we would play. Now, because they've had an extra team added into the division, they got, as opposed to 7, they now have 8, and these guys are playing 3-game series against each other while also carrying basically a 40 to 50 game season, depending on the team that you're playing for. So, this might be your one opportunity to play at AVC. You don't really know the park very well, and the coach might not know the park very well. So there's a lot of factors that come into a pitcher's mind, especially when they're playing something that they haven't played if it's a freshman season.
3 balls and a strike on Trey Thomas. Mason Johnson would be next. Inside for a ball. And now they're loaded. And you've got Mason Johnson coming to the plate.
Well, Jeff, 2 out walks. We talked about 1 out walks. Now, let's bring up that statistic. In Major League Baseball, 2 out walks contributing to a surprisingly high percentage of runs scored. And we're now going to have a conference on the mound. But that's going to be definitely within the conversation piece of the coach. He's got 2 outs. He doesn't need to get too fine with the situation. Obviously, he was given the gift by the runner getting caught stealing at second base. But, at this point, it looks like he's trying to get a little bit too finite and a little overthrowing with his fastball, where early on in the inning, he was kind of able to locate and find where he needed to throw the ball. He's kind of laid a couple out over the middle of the plate, and then with the last batter, he was really wild. Only made it to a 3-1 count without really offering anything too close to the zone.
I imagine there's a temptation to make Tovar throw a strike when he's having a struggle here in the first inning. But, boy, I'd love to see Mason Johnson come up there and maybe look for a fastball, see if he can get one in the location he likes.
Mason Johnson batting .297. He's got 3 home runs, though the wind is blowing from left field in. So to the right side, definitely easy. I mean, Massini didn't have a hard time, and it's not like he's batting from the left side. He's batting from the right side, so that ball will carry that way.
Well, we had, I want to say, 5 home runs in our first broadcast. He did go after the first pitch. It was a breaking ball, and he fouls it away. But we had 5 home runs, I believe, in our first broadcast against Bakersfield last week, and I believe 4 of them went to right field.
Jeff, I will give you the number right now because I have the scorebook in front of me. I just have to find them all.
Well, it's nervous time for me then. We'll see how my memory is. No balls and a strike on Johnson. Bases loaded. Here in the bottom of the first, Marauders already in front 1-0, looking for more. On the outside corner, he's quickly ahead of Johnson. No balls and 2 strikes.
Oh, that was called a
Johnson,
strike.
for his part, for his part, handles the bat well. Good command of the strike zone. 18 walks against just 16 strikeouts, but he's in a big hole here. No balls and 2 strikes. Tovar looking to get out of the first inning with what I'm sure he would take, just 1 run allowed. Wave and a miss. He gets the strikeout to get out of the inning. The Marauders get the home run from Moseni, but they leave him loaded through 1-0 AVC here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Matthew Toledo staked to an early 1-0 lead on the home run by Mosentny. We'll go to work on Sean David to be followed by Max Odd and Will White. 4, 5, 6 coming up for the Monarchs here in the top of the second. Breaking ball inside for a ball.
Yeah, Sean David batting .323 on the season. And he's had 99 plate appearances. So, definitely seen pitches this season. Only 2 home runs, however.
20 runs batted in. Cued back to the screen. A ball and a strike on David. And there is a look at Sean David. He is a freshman, 6'2", 230 pounds, out of El Camino High School, Woodland Hills. 1-1 pitch. Back to the breaking ball, low for a ball.
Now, despite that being a ball there, that was a really good eye-adjusting pitch. With the 1-1 count, you have a ball to spare here, but he needs to be really really smart with where he throws his next pitch. And I'm guessing it's going to be a fastball or a cutter on the outside, based on where the catcher's setting up.
2-1 pitch, laced into left field for a base hit. First hit of the day for the Monarchs. Davis aboard with a leadoff single.
Well, Jeff, I was
left
wrong.
that one up in the zone, Emery, and David didn't miss it.
Yeah, I was wrong with the pitch selection. I was thinking he should have gone fastball there or maybe a cutter on the outside corner, but he decides to slow it down and go with the breaking ball. And the issue with going back-to-back like that with your breaking ball and not starting with a strike and then going to a dirty pitch in the dirt is that you're giving the batter an opportunity to see the pitch go out of the zone, so he knows what it looks like when it's a ball out of your hand. So it's easier to track all the way through the zone when it's left up a little bit like that, especially after coming back from
left-handed hitting. Sorry, Emery. Left-handed hitting Max Odd stands in and takes a breaking ball for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Odd batting .301, a home run, 25 runs batted in. And a throw over. We'll check David at first. David does have a stolen base on the season. Overall, the Monarchs with 52 stolen bases as a team. So they will be aggressive under head coach Dave Malice. Bouncing ball to first. Thomas will get the out at first on the play. David does take second.
Well, that's a tough decision there to make as the first baseman, and he's a right-handed first baseman, so when he's receiving the ball there on that play, it was just to his left side. He's turning and looking at the bag. It's easier for him to step on the bag, and then he kind of double clutches and doesn't throw it to first. I think there might have been a window to throw it to the shortstop as he was coming in to try and cut the runner off there, but the runner pretty much had the bag at that point, Jeff.
Will White, the batter. David at second. Slow curve, a beauty, in for a strike. No balls and a strike on White, who comes in batting .255. No home runs, 13 runs batted in.
That's a beautiful first pitch breaking ball.
Well, we've seen a pretty steady diet of off-speed stuff early from Toledo.
He's definitely not having an issue with throwing it early on, and sometimes guys like to wait until they work their first way through the lineup before they start breaking it off. But, every pitcher's a little bit different, and Toledo, for what it's worth, has been using his breaking ball really well here. It's just a matter of throwing the right pitch at the right time.
To right field, but caught by Terry. So White robbed of a potential base hit as Terry, well positioned, goes up to get it. David does get back to second, so 2 down. And a runner at second, and the batter will be Elvis Park.
Terry doing his best job to get up into the air and everything he can do to stop that ball from going into right field, because considering that there was a really big gap, you see your outfielders, it's hard to tell right now because you can't see it, but you have your center fielder playing left of second base as well as your right fielder playing closer to the line. There's a really big gap in that corner. That's extra bases and a run if it gets through, Jeff.
First pitch swinging, fly ball to center. Chang ranging over and has it to retire the side. The leadoff base hit goes nowhere through 1.5. It's 1-0 AVC. It's Marauder Baseball on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Zhang, Taylor, and the top of the order, Rogers, coming up in the bottom of the second. An eventful first inning for Daniel Tovar. He allows 3 hits, including a home run and 2 walks, but gets away allowing just 1 run. And if you're a Marauder fan, you hope that that doesn't turn out to be a significant point in the game, 1 ball and no strikes, because the opportunity was there, certainly, for a crooked number in that first inning. And instead, ABC with just a 1-run lead. Fly ball center field. Clayton waiting and has it for out number 1. That'll bring up Jack Taylor. Taylor been in and out of the lineup the last couple of weeks. Comes in batting .333, a home run, 16 runs batted in. And he'll look to get something going here in the bottom of the second. Breaking ball over for a strike. No balls and a strike, and so far appears to be a fairly generous strike zone. Saw a couple of pitches for Toledo, or I should say for Tovar last inning, catching the outside of the corner. That was a breaking ball, perhaps belt high, maybe a little bit above, and called for a strike. So that will work to the benefit of both pitchers, you would believe. 1-1, swing and a miss. A ball and 2 strikes on Taylor, with Rogers waiting on deck. Second of this 3-game series. Game 1 went to LA Valley. And Game 3 Saturday, called strike 3. Taylor down on strikes. That's the second strikeout in the game for Tovar. 2 down, bases empty. And now Rogers, who walked and was caught stealing, his first time up, will be the batter. Mention the power surge for Rogers of late. He's up to 5 home runs on the season. But Rogers has 3 home runs in his last 7 games, including a bomb on our broadcast last week. 1 ball, no strikes. Rogers has the big frame, but well suited to be a leadoff hitter. Not only does he have an on-base percentage up at .385, but he's stolen 3 bases on the season. That was his first caught stealing on the season in the first inning. And he's ahead here, 2 balls and no strikes. Busted it inside, lifted down the right field line. Olivas on the dead run, but he's going to run out of room. 2 balls and a strike. That was good location from Tovar. Got it in on the hands of Rogers, who just muscled it out to right field. And fortunately for Antelope Valley, out of play, so another chance for Jack Rogers with a 2-1 count. Tovar looking to get himself back on track with an easy second. He's got the first 2, but now he's gone 3-1 on Rogers. Zach Terry would be next. And you already start thinking about the possibility of getting Keon Mosini to the plate. 3-1 on the outside corner. So even now in this seemingly innocuous situation, there's some pressure on Tovar. How quickly a situation can become dangerous. And he'd love to get Rogers right here and get back to the dugout. Payoff pitch to Rogers. Called strike 3. Rogers down on strikes. Good comeback inning for Daniel Tovar. 3 up, 3 down with a couple of strikeouts. We're through 2. 1-0. AVC on top of LA Valley. It's Marauder Baseball here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Luis Torres to be followed by Tino Valdez and Royce Clayton Jr. 8-9-1 coming up in the top of the third in a 1-0 game, Antelope Valley and LA Valley. Here on SoCalCollegeSports.com, first pitch to Torres, low for a ball.
Well, Jeff, I'm back. Issue has been rectified. We were missing assets in the broadcast, and that's why we had no replays. So everything working now as it should, and I feel much, much better.
Well, we're all glad to hear that. No balls. I should say 1 ball and now 1 strike as Torres ropes this one foul. Torres comes in batting .265, no home runs, 9 runs batted in. And there's a good look at Matthew Toledo, and what a boon it would be for this Marauder team to really start to develop a go-to #1 type starter, and that is what Toledo is turning into. This one twisting away from Moseni and will drop in for a base hit. You look at the last 3 games, and the Marauders have surrendered 44 runs. It has been just difficult to keep runs off the board for the Marauders, but when they can get some solid pitching, the offense has been very consistent and able to deliver runs.
Potentially one of
bring
those.
Up Valdez.
Jeff, it's potentially one of those conundrums similar to like the Colorado situation where, is the facility so difficult to pitch in where it just makes anybody have a really tough time when they come and pitch? I mean, sometimes that can be the case. It's hard to make an argument there, but
oh, I think that's definitely part of it. Going back to last year, bunted in front of home plate. Now Uribe with some trouble, and everybody's going to be safe. Runners at first and second, and the Monarchs have something going. But you go back to last year, Emery, and the Marauders over 500 on the season, but again, similar. A lot of high-scoring games. They could put a ton of runs on the board, but they were in some exciting high-scoring games all season long, and certainly the conditions out here in Lancaster and in this park are part of the equation.
Yeah. And I want to stipulate something here. The facility is absolutely beautiful. This is one of the nicest college facilities in the 3C2A. Granted, they have the turf field, and some guys don't necessarily love that a whole lot. But I would say it's definitely a place that there's not many schools that have a locker room clubhouse attached to their dugout. And I am certainly jealous. I have fond memories of getting dressed in the parking lot with all my teammates when I was at this level. And, that's certainly not to do with the facility in terms of the actual quality, because this place is absolutely gorgeous. I want to make sure that that's known, Jeff.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it, but I just want to be clear for those that don't know, Emery is a former pitcher, so for a lot of the rest of us, we don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a park that favors hitters. Yeah, but obviously pitchers might come at it from a little different standpoint.
Well, hitters love it. Pitchers, you have to. It's the ultimate puzzle that you have to kind of put together and play. I always look at these situations as figure out exactly what's going to work here. How is a pitcher going to be successful? And a lot of times that has nothing to do with the field itself. It has to do with you locating your pitches where they need to be. Oh, goodness.
Throw back to second. It gets away, and nobody there, so the runners are going to move up as Terry had moved over on the throw back. So the error will allow the runners to move up 90 feet, and now it's second and third, still nobody out. And I've got the count at no balls and a strike. Emery, can you confirm that for me?
It is a 1-1 count, and I want to actually talk about that play specifically and how it's called from a scoring perspective. The actual error is not recorded to the pitcher. The error is recorded to the fielder who did not catch the ball. The ball was delivered directly over the bag, and the player did not catch it. It wasn't an inherently wild throw. It wasn't out of control. It wasn't like the pitcher had thrown the ball in an incorrect position. And that's an interesting one with how that is. He might actually, if the ball does not get through, beautiful play.
Diving save by Johnson, who will go across. And I didn't get the call there, Emery. So
yeah.
Okay, so they do get Clayton at first by an eyelash. What a great play by Johnson to save at least 1 run and maybe 2.
Well, Jeff, I
So
don't
one
know.
down, and Emery, going back to that throw back to second, I think the luck is even worse than that because I believe it caught Torres at second and got away. So I'm not even sure. It'd be interesting if we have the replay, but to see that again because that might have just bounced off the runner.
It did. That's
strike.
the issue is the ball was delivered from the pitcher, not in an errant way. It was directly where it was supposed to be. And the fielder not fielding the ball, not catching the ball, even if it hits the runner, is how the error is recorded.
No balls and 2 strikes, and cannot overstate the potential importance of that play by Mason Johnson, as now Toledo gets way out in front against Olivas. You get a strikeout here, maybe you got a chance of getting out of the inning.
Yeah, you have to be looking
No
from
balls
the
and
pitcher's
2 strikes.
perspective. You have to be looking for a strikeout here regardless. Don't leave this pitch too far in the zone. You're 0-2, you're ahead. You have them exactly where you need them, Jeff.
Tried outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes, and the pressure amps up just slightly on Joe Uribe behind the plate. Keep the ball in front of him.
Yeah,
1 and 2.
If I were to try and set this guy up right here, Tyler Olivas would be looking at a fastball high at the zone. Definitely out of the zone. It would be something to set the eyes, see if he can generate a swing. If he doesn't swing at it, you're coming back with that 12-6 curveball, Jeff.
Got him! Looked like a cutter. Working away from him.
Yeah, cutter or a breaking ball that was
Bobby
it had the
Velasco.
action of a slider or a cutter. Certainly exactly what you want to do there with that pitch. He goes one of 2 ways. You can either pitch high and come back down with a 12-6, which, of course, Matthew Toledo has, and we've seen it thrown a couple times today, but he goes outside and then he comes back with that cutter moving away, and it was a little more emphasis, and that was all psychology on the batter's side.
2 down, but now you got to get this series marauder killer, Bobby Velasco. Breaking ball outside for a ball. And talk about the pressure on Toledo here right now. You've got the 2 outs. How do you stay focused when you're on the mound? You're 1 out away, but it's so easy to momentarily lose focus in this situation. Get ahead of yourself and maybe undo all the work here if you give up a base hit. Swing and a miss.
Jeff, I would answer that question with exactly what he just did. Go to what you're feeling comfortable with. Throw that dirty curveball that you have, or throw something that you feel extremely comfortable throwing in this situation. And mentally, you understand that you have the base open at first base. It's not the end of the world if the guy gets on with an infield base hit or if you walk him. However, that 2-out walk is suspect and dangerous. The point being that we're trying to make here, Jeff, is play your game.
Line drive into left field for a base hit. 1 run will score. Here comes the throw. Not in time. It's a 2-run single for Velasco, who now has 12 runs batted in his last 6 games.
Now, Jeff, he gets a little bit aggressive there with the curveball and tries to catch a little more of the plate. And I think Bobby Velasco was sitting on it because he knew that's exactly what was coming.
Big-time clutch hit for Velasco here in the top of the 3rd to give the Monarchs a 2-1 lead. It will bring up Sean David, who had a base hit his first time up, and he swings through the breaking ball for strike 1. David comes in batting .323. The 0-1 pitch, line drive, left field, but Moseni has it for out number 3. So a hard hit ball, but the big 2-run single for Velasco gives the Monarchs the 2-1 lead as we head to the bottom of the 3rd on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Heart of the order coming up for the Marauders in the bottom of the third, and for the first time today, they're looking up on the scoreboard, trailing at 2-1. Zach Terry set to lead things off. Takes a fastball on the outside corner for strike one. Terry, the returning sophomore, 5'8", 175 pounds out of Eastside High School in Lancaster. And I mentioned the 5'8" because Terry tied for the team lead in home runs with 5. So he's got the pop to take
Jeff,
it out of here, but he's in a hole, no balls and 2 strikes.
Jeff, he's already seen the ball well today. He had that long fly out to right field right before Keon Mosini had that home run. So
Tovar ready.
Maybe he adds on to that right here.
Velasco trying to frame that up, but doesn't get the call. A ball and ball and 2 strikes on Terry, to be followed by Moseni and Jabara. 1-2 pitch up in the zone. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Terry. Terry on the season, 32 walks. That far and away leads the team. His on-base percentage nearly 500 at .479. 3 balls and 2 strikes. He's come all the way back from an 0-2 count to work it full. And this is the luxury that Terry has with Moseni waiting on deck. Boy, oh boy, you really don't want to walk him. But they do. No, they're going to get the call in the inside corner. And Emery, I don't know if that caught the inside corner or if they say that Terry actually did go around trying to hold up, but that is a big call and 1 down. Marauders don't get the base runner, and Tovar gets the strikeout.
Yeah, he just comes back with that inside fastball, and from my angle, it looked really close. Too close with 2 strikes to sit on Jeff. That's one of those classic ones where they go, well, if we had the automatic umpire who could call the balls and strikes, honestly, a pitch that close you got to swing at or got to offer at it. You cannot allow the umpire to make the decision there, and he should have swung the bat or at least tried to fight it off.
Yeah, it had tailing action on it, and the call was it got the inside corner. Tovar has 31 strikeouts and 44 2/3 coming in, but he struck out 4 of the last 5, so he's in a groove after a shaky start. Here's the 1-1. Golfed into right field. Olivas there for the out. 2 down. Hard hit ball from Moseni, but Olivas well positioned. 2 down, bases empty, and it'll bring up Aiden Jabara.
Yeah, Jeff, the one big comment I was going to make here is that these batters need to extend these at-bats. Considering how comfortable Daniel Tovar looks right now on the mound, it doesn't look like he's really putting too much effort into how he's choosing his pitches or how he's going to have to technically get through these batters. They need to extend a little bit, see more pitches, see if they can force him to put out a little bit more effort. He's looking extremely comfortable in this 3rd inning.
And let's give Tovar an awful lot of credit. You go back to that 1st inning when he had surrendered 4 straight base runners that included a home run, and you had Mason Johnson coming to the plate at the time of that conference, and he looked like a pitcher in trouble. And instead he came out, got the strikeout on Johnson, and he has been lights out since. Back to the screen, a ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, this comes down to throwing a lot of strikes. He's not really that wild. If you look at the counts that he's thrown in, outside of the 1 walk he had in the 1st inning, he's thrown 4 pitches to the 7th batter he faced. The 8th batter he faced, it was a first pitch. Actually, I don't have it. I'm sorry. This statistic will look very weird because I don't have it, but I know he worked through the batters rather quickly and was throwing a lot of strikes attacking the zone.
They'll appeal down, and we will go on with the count of 2 balls and 2 strikes on Jabara. Yeah, he's up to 6 in a row retired, and 4 of them on strikes. And, it starts with great location and being around the plate.
And also making big pitches, Jeff. That's a huge part of it. Can you execute pitches in important situations and not be too out of control?
Swing and a miss from Jabara. He goes after the breaking ball, 2nd straight 1-2-3 inning for Daniel Tovar. We head to the 4th with LA Valley on top of AVC. When we return, Emory Johnson will take you through the middle innings here on SoCalCollegeSports.com.
Well, 5, 6, 7, and up here for the LA Valley team, and we will get into our 4th inning of work for Matthew Toledo. First up in this inning is Max Odd. He had that hard ground out to the first base the last time up. He's going to get a breaking ball for ball number 1 to start things off. Comes back with a strike. Sorry, getting some things checked off and squared away here, Jeff. As I am now taking over for the play-by-play for the next 3 innings. And a couple different things here for me. Ground ball hit up the middle. Easily playable, but right into the belt of Zach Terry. And the umpire said that Trey Thomas was off the bag, and it will be a infield base hit for Max Odd. Jeff, did you see anything there that indicated that he was off the bag?
I'd be interested to see the replay, but I also was impressed. You watch at the end here, and this ball takes a little hop that almost handcuffs Terry. This is a nice job. Kind of hops up on him there, and he is able to come away with it and had time. I don't know if we have the replay of the actual bag, but the call came in very quickly, and Brian Moses is going to come out and have his say and get a little confirmation here on this, but I think I lean toward the call here because it came in right away and a great view of the call. And it's just hard to believe that they totally missed it, but we'll see if maybe we have the angle here. No, just outside.
Yeah,
and that's a really tough break for Matthew Toledo.
Yeah, I could have sworn he was on the bag. It didn't look like he had jumped off the bag. And Zach Terry certainly delivered the ball, at least in the proper location.
I'll take one more look.
And is his foot off the bag? It looks like his foot was on the bag. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what the call is there. We will say, though, that we don't have the angle from the other side of the bag. But, boy, oh, boy, that looked from that angle.
Everybody
like
here.
You know, Emery, you watch that replay, and you can't have a better view if you're the umpire in that situation. He is standing right there 10 feet away. So if he missed the call, I don't even know what to say because you can't have a better view of a play to completely miss.
Well, Will White will step into the box. He's currently 0 for 1 on the day. Takes a breaking ball for a strike. Now with the base runner at first, who's Max Odd. Toledo delivers a second pitch. This one's fouled back to the right side. Count will fall to 0-2. Certainly where you want to be, especially considering the annoyance of a call like that. And, you know, again, Jeff, I think you make a great point. He is standing almost perfectly in line with where he would need to be to see if the first baseman's foot is on the bag.
The other thing I wonder about that call, and it's hard to know, is maybe that baseball moved or juggled a little bit in the glove as Odd was crossing first. And we're looking at saying that it was off the bag, but is it possible that maybe there was a little juggle and the ball was never fully secured as the runner crossed?
Swung on a missed strike 3, and he goes with a high fastball to Will White, and that's exactly what you want to do with 2 strikes to set up the breaking ball. And Toledo doing a good job of not letting the situation get to him. I was going to make another comment about this, Jeff, which is when you get situations that are sometimes upsetting to the players on the field, or you're a pitcher, you've done everything you can to get an out recorded, and the umpire just makes a call that leaves you scratching your head. Oftentimes it's easy to get a little bit distracted and leave a pitch over the middle of the plate and have them take advantage and bunted down the third base line. This is picked up and fumbled. Luckily, Uribe is going to be right in the way, but that was Mason Johnson was on the ball, but he really didn't make he didn't totally have the ball in his hands, and that's why it got fumbled out. Bunt for a base hit, and it's going to move the runner over. And Elvis Park is going to find himself on first base with no problems. So the sacrifice.
Well, it's going to be a tough play for Johnson.
Yeah, you'll see it right here. look at this down the line. Johnson definitely had to run up, and, well, he was going to be there in time. That's why he ended up not throwing it over. Luis Torres up at the plate, fouls one to the left side. This one's out of play. It was the first base hit in the third inning that resulted in a runner on base and the first run scored by the Monarchs. If you remember, it was that softly hit line drive into left field that was just unplayable. So runners first and
the Monarchs
second.
getting some production from the bottom of the order, and that's a welcome bonus with Torres and Valdez delivering base hits and eventually coming around to score.
Breaking ball low for a ball. You have 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Runners first and second. The Marauders desperately in need of a ground ball in the infield. Breaking ball low, ball 2. There's Max Odd standing on second base.
Well, you're a ground ball away from getting out of it if you're Matthew Toledo.
Certainly looking for something hit on the ground. Matthew Toledo delivers the payoff. Swung on a missed on the inside, and he just keeps going with that cutter. Brings it even 2-2.
Torres came into action batting .265. No home runs and 9 runs batted in.
Toledo checking second base. Here comes the 2-2. Swung on a hit hard into right field, and this is potentially going to score 1 run. And they will stop the runner at third base. A base hit for Torres. Odd stopped at third, and Elvis Park will move to second. The bases are now loaded with 1 out.
Good piece of hitting from Torres, and he shows the quick bat. On the pitch on the inside corner, turns, gets it into right field for a base hit, and a couple of hits today for Torres, and now a real opportunity for Valdez to give the Monarchs some breathing room.
Valdez last time up, he's 1 for 1. He had a bunt for a base hit. He was just trying to move the runner over, and the small ball game has definitely aided LA Valley. Obviously, you're looking at the stat line and going, they don't have too many home runs on the season, only 10, but they find ways to get runs across the board. First pitch, breaking ball down the middle of the plate for a strike. 0-1 is the count. And now, Toledo having to do everything he can to prevent more runs from coming across the plate here. Goes outside for ball 1. And Jeff, I'm sure you would agree that the storyline for LA Valley so far has been something of the sort that would be playing just with base hits and bunts here. And that's why they've been successful on the season.
Yeah, they haven't exactly knocked the cover off the ball against Toledo, but they have put the ball in play, and when you do, good things have a tendency to happen.
Potentially the most important
and clutch hitting.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say, Emery, clutch hitting is so important, and that was a huge 2-out base hit for Velasco, and right now that's the difference.
Valdez hits it hard up the middle, handled well to second base. You got the first half of the double play in time, and their double play will be turned to 4-6-3, and Toledo just gets out with the hard ground ball up the middle, and we will head to the bottom of the 4th with the heart of the order coming up. You're watching AVC Baseball on the AVC and Sports Network and SoCal College Sports. Start of the order coming up for ABC. They're trailing one here in the bottom of the fourth, and that brings up to the plate Joe Uribe. He had a base hit into left field last time up to the plate. He'll take a ball on the outside from Daniel Tovar for the first pitch of that bat. The Marauders looking for a spark here to get things going. Here comes the 1-0. Takes fastball high.
The single earlier was Uribe's first hit in the series, but he was coming off 5 hits in his previous 2 games last week in the Bakersfield shootout.
He takes strike. His first strike over the middle of the plate. Here comes the 2-1. Swung on, popped into right center. This one's a little bit deep, but drifting back and able to make the catch is Elvis Park. No problem. Well, the first out is recorded.
Well, that was a ball, Emery, that was really carrying a week ago, and we saw a little bit of carry there, but died just short of the track for Uribe.
You're certainly right.
Today. Last week it was winds up at 20 miles an hour, blowing out.
Well, and Jeff, I will iterate here from inside the park. The wind is blowing right to left across the field, so we no longer have that storm blowing in that was coming in the last time. And that's definitely going to make a difference once the ball gets lofted up into the upper stratosphere above the Marauders baseball field. Breaking ball for strike 1 called on Trey Thomas. He's going to take ball 1 on the outside corner. Tries to go back-to-back with it. Daniel Tovar hasn't really gone a lot back-to-back with his breaking ball, however, does it here. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on. In the bottom of the fourth, swung on and fouled straight back. Trey Thomas definitely
Trey Thomas, the last player to reach against Daniel Tovar way back in the first inning.
That's going to feel like an eternity
a walk that
ago.
loaded the bases.
This one golfed up into the left center gap, easily playable, and Elvis Park will be parked right underneath it. It looked a lot faster off the bat immediately, but he got up in there and kind of died for out number 2, and that will bring up Mason Johnson, who struck out on the first, and we haven't seen him since. Jeff, I got to wonder, what is the adjustment that needs to be made here against Tovar, and what is he doing that's so successful? First pitch high for ball 1.
Well, we just saw him work inside to Mason Johnson after the pitch, more toward the outside corner that was off the end of the bat of Thomas.
Grounded hard third base side and throw easily in time with plenty of time. Well, that does it for the Marauders in the bottom of the fourth. We'll head to the top of the fifth with the top of the order due up here in time. LA Valley leads it 2-1 here in Antelope Valley. Well, top of the order due up here in the top of the fifth. Matthew Toledo brings his fifth inning of work, and it's going to start with Royce Clayton. He's not been able to reach all day today, both times grounding out to the third baseman. So, for what it's worth, Toledo has figured out something that works against him. Starts out with a breaking ball for a strike on the outside corner.
Yeah, Clayton comes in on a 6-game hitting streak. So he's been swinging the bat well.
Breaking ball for ball one, and he goes back to back, and that's exactly what we were talking about a little bit earlier, Jeff, is he didn't try to go with another floater breaking ball right in there for strike two. He tried to see if he could generate a swing off of it. And this is all information that the pitcher's kind of downloading here. Here comes the 1-1. Popped up right side, and that's going to be easily playable. Zach Rogers underneath it. No problem. Out number one is recorded early on in this fifth inning. Tyler Olivas now due up. He flew out to right field in the first and struck out swinging in the third. But you will have to get through Bobby Velasco, who had that 2 RBI hit through the infield in the third. This one hit softly to the right side. Easy for out number two.
That's a nice job coming off the mound, fielding his position by Matthew Toledo. If that ball gets by Toledo, it's a base hit. But Toledo able to get there, cut it off, and they get Olivas, and now you got bases empty, 2 down, with Velasco coming to the plate.
Yeah, Jeff, that side as well is it's kind of difficult because you're falling off the mound to that side. You have to regain your balance and start sprinting towards the ball. And luckily, you can at least pick up the ball and throw it. If you're left-handed, that's one of the harder plays to make in baseball. As he throws ball number one to Bobby Velasco, breaking ball in the outside corner. If you're left-handed, you have to turn your whole body around to field that ball and then throw it to the first baseman. But a great job by Toledo to get his pitcher's fielding practice done in practice and now apply it out onto the field. Strike one called as he goes back-to-back breaking balls. And you see the fastball inside call, and there it is. Hit it deep into left center field, and Bobby Velasco is going to continue to do damage here as he's turning for second, and he will be on second base with a standout double. 2-out double for Velasco.
First extra base hit of the game for the Monarchs, and looked like Toledo tried to sneak a fastball by, but it was out over the heart of the plate, and Velasco coming in swinging a hot bat. And I'm sure that ball looks nice and big up there when he's at the plate right now.
Definitely, Jeff.
You know, he takes it out to left center.
He really didn't need to do that in that situation. It was he had him with 2 breaking balls, and giving him that fastball on the inside corner was almost a gift. It was like, I haven't given you anything nice to swing at yet, and here's this nice little fastball belt high. Swung on and fouled off of his leg, and that's going to be the first attempt here for Sean David. He reached in the second inning with a base hit into left field and then flew out to the left fielder to end the inning in the third. He starts out 0-1. Runner on second here for Toledo with 2 outs. Fastball outside corner. Umpire likes it. You go 0-2.
Again, we've seen that higher strike and the outside corner. It's been a generous strike zone, and both pitchers have done a good job of taking advantage.
Yeah, and if you can, you see exactly how you can expand the zone with your pitch selection and location. Well, here comes the 0-2. Outside corner, this one's going to be a little too far. But I like the idea of going a little bit farther out. Jeff, you are a baseball fan of the years, and I want to ask you, of all the pitchers, who is the guy who is known for doing just that and getting the strike called?
Well, I can think of 2 guys on the same team that both were really masters of that. And the first one that came to mind was Tom Glavine, who used to just start on the outside corner and just move it inch by inch outside to see how far he could go.
Well, Toledo goes with the same outside fastball once again, but generates the swing from David. We are through the top of the fifth. We're headed to the bottom of the fifth with 8, 9, and 1 headed up to the plate for the Marauders. You're watching the Murano Sports Network on SoCal College Sports. Well, the bottom of the fifth, we'll start with Jason Zhang in the batter's box, and Daniel Tovar has been nothing short of excellent here after giving up the 1 home run to Keon Mosini. He starts out with a called strike.
Yeah, 10 in a row retired.
And I'm sorry, yeah, it's a 1-1 count. That's right. The scoreboard was wrong for a second. It's a 1-1 count, so it goes 1-1. Here comes the breaking ball inside, and that was close to being called. Umpire says just a little bit low. So Jason,
we talked last inning about what has been the key to Tovar's success, and to me, you watch, he's moving the ball in and out and up and down. Just great command. And it's so difficult to hit when any pitcher you're facing is able to hit spots.
Oh, and keep the ball low. You know, the ball has a tendency to fly here, and he's doing exactly that. He's not missing high. He's not leaving pitches over the middle of the plate. However, he does break out a walk here for the leadoff batter, Jason Zhang. So 1 runner on here in the bottom of the fifth, and that will bring up Jack Taylor. He struck out his first time up in the second inning. Potentially a chance to turn things around.
Well, trouble so often starts with a leadoff walk. It's exactly what you don't want if you're the Monarchs, and you put Zhang, who's got good speed, on to start the bottom of the fifth.
Breaking ball outside for ball 1, and Jack Taylor, who comes to the plate with a .333 batting average and 31 games played and 28 games started. He's had 69 at-bats. This will be his 71st. I'm just looking at the stat line now. Takes another pitch high. We go to ball 2. So Tovar has had a pretty smooth sailing game thus far.
That last pitch was interesting to me because I think that was very close to a spot where Tovar's been getting some calls in this game.
Well, he goes right back to the fastball outside and gets the called strike. Jeff, I think you're right. You know, this umpire has been a little bit consistently wide today with his strike zone, but potentially, you know, missed his consistent call. And that's the issue.
I could almost, yeah, I could almost see the wheels turning for Tovar after that previous pitch saying, wait, I've been getting that call. How is that now a ball?
This one popped up and back. It should be out of play for catcher Bobby Velasco, and it is. This will even up the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes, no outs. Jason Zhang standing at first base.
Mentioned Taylor back in the lineup, did appear in game 1 of the series as a pinch hitter and came up with a base hit. Went back in the starting lineup today.
From the stretch, the 2-2. This one swung on and popped right side foul, but it will be playable. Drifting over and making the catches, first baseman Will White for the first out of the inning.
That was a big-time comeback for Daniel Tovar. He was down 2 balls and no strikes.
Jack
Just had a very close pitch called against him. He takes a breath, comes back, throws 3 good pitches in a row, and gets the pop out.
An important out recorded here in the bottom of the 5th. Now bring up Jack Rogers with his 3rd plate appearance. He walked his first time out, struck out his 2nd time to the plate. That ended the 2nd inning. That was kind of what started this whole dominance from Daniel Tovar. Picks over to first base, and he had him for a second, and that was a scary moment for Zhang.
Yeah, Zhang was off to a big lead. And I think the sense over in that Marauder dugout is this isn't the game we saw last week. I don't think this one's ending 16-14. So every run is going to be critical here. And Zhang, no doubt, thinking about second base.
Well, that brings up the lead from Zhang. He's about in the same spot that he picked over last time. Ground ball hit left side. This one handled. Thrown over to second. Will it be in time? And the second throw is in time. A 6-4-3 double play, and the Monarchs are off the field to end the 5th. We head to the top of the 6th, and you're watching the Marauder Sports Network on SoCal College Sports. Max Odd, Will White, and Elvis Park will come up to the plate for the Monarchs. And that's the 5, 6, 7 part of the order, the heart of the order for them. And we will see Toledo work into his 6th inning of work. Despite the 2 runs given up in the 3rd inning, he has started to kind of settle down and start to cruise here in the 6th. So the fastball outside for ball 1.
Going back to the
Go ahead, Jeff.
bottom of the inning, Emery, that was a sensational play in the field for Valdez, Torres, and White on a ball that was extremely hard to turn to. A slow hit ball, but the range from Valdez, a great turn from Torres, and a great stretch from White.
Yeah, all around, that was just an excellent defensive play, and it's hard to comprehend how difficult that play is for a shortstop to go from moving all the way across his body to try and make that play. That ball in the dirt, ball 2. count falls to 2-1.
And while we've been talking about how good Tovar has been in this game for good reason, it helps when your defense is playing really well behind you.
Yeah, certainly, and you know, there is probably some familiarity for LA Valley when they're coming here to AVC. They play on a turf field like we were talking about earlier in the game. Ground ball hit hard right side. This one, it will be out of play. Count evens up 2-2. But the turf field definitely gives you a little bit of an advantage if you are the Monarchs coming here, because it's not going to be nearly as different from playing on dirt. And the ball bounces and rolls completely different on a turf field. Popped up right side. This one will be falling foul, but getting underneath it is the second baseman, and that'll be Zach Terry to make the catch for the first out of the inning.
That's a great job by Terry to take charge on that play. Calls off Thomas and makes the play for the out.
Yeah, I think he definitely saw that Thomas was a little bit short or shallow on that pop fly, and he had the read, and the ball's moving away from him where Terry could move out and then back into the ball, and that's where you always want to be when fielding a pop fly like that, because it's moving not only away, you know, straight down, but it's moving towards the right field side.
And you know, Emery, that's the kind of thing that players make look easy, but it's a great job communicating, and it's a great job coaching and understanding what's supposed to happen on a play, who takes charge, and how a play breaks down.
This one hit into left field. This is a shallow pop fly running in to make the catch, and he will, is Keon Mosini.
Matthew Toledo and Daniel Tovar for that matter, but Matthew Toledo is doing a tremendous job changing speeds. That's 2 balls in a row hit off the end of the bat, and batters are off balance and just missing. And that ends up being a lazy fly ball to shallow left for Toledo.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Jeff. I was trying to remember exactly who the batter was earlier in the game who had one similar to that. This one popped up into center field, and that will be easy work for Jason Zhang as we head to the top of the 7th and or check that, head to the bottom of the 6th. You're watching SoCal College Sports of Marauder Baseball. Well, it's the bottom of the 6th. And the Marauders looking to hopefully even things up here in the bottom of the 6th as we get started with Zach Terry up at the plate. He flew out to right field and struck out in the 3rd. Takes a breaking ball for a ball. Two balls, one strike. balls, 1 strike. And Daniel Tovar, who I suspected was getting a little bit tired, has a almost full count as he gets the ground ball hit to the left side, and that's handled easily by Sean David. Record the first out of the inning.
Well, it's hard not to give a guy the green light on 3-1, but Moseni coming to the plate, you're almost tempted, even as good a hitter as Zach Terry is, to have him leave the bat on the shoulder. Give one more chance, see if it can get on base in front of Moseni, but he goes after it. Good play by David for the first out.
Moseni takes a fastball on the outside corner, and it's going to be called for ball 1. Looked very close to me. I apologize, Jeff. Our camera in center field has either run out of battery or the transmitter is having issues, so we will.
Oh, don't apologize to me, buddy.
So 2 balls, no strikes. Moseni flew out deep to right field his last time up the plate and had the home run in the first. He goes 3 balls.
You can see from that angle, even with the 2-0 count and the base is empty, still tried to backdoor with the breaking ball against Moseni. He's so dangerous. You cannot afford to groove one.
No. Fastball high, and he's going to draw the walk here. I think Tovar made the right decision. Runner at first, 1 out. Bottom of the 6th for the Maroons. Now bring up Aiden Jabara.
Moseni came in batting .455, so it could be a little bit of the home run that he hit going back to the first inning, and it could be a little of simple scouting.
Yeah.
And just knowing who the big bats of the opposing lineup are and saying, hey, even if you're down 2-0 or 3-0 to this guy, we're not just grooving one right over the heart of the plate.
Aiden Jabara up to the plate. He's batting 352, so it's not like you get a break with Jabara. Takes high for ball 1. He's got a base hit on the infield in the first and struck out in the third. He struck out swinging. It wasn't looking.
Had a 5-game hitting streak snapped in game 1 of the series, so he's looking to get himself going once again, and has done so. Did have a base hit back in the first.
Bobby Velasco coming out to talk to his pitcher, and I'm surprised that the umpires are letting this go for so long. This has been an extended conversation, but Daniel Tovar receives his instruction, and, well, I tell you one thing from experience, you definitely have to have a good relationship with your catcher, but when you do have a good relationship with your catcher, when they tell you something, you better listen, because when you shake them off and they're making the call, you will suffer the consequences. 1 runner on, 1 ball, no strikes, 1 out.
Emery, I'm trying to figure out a way to put this more delicately, but even at this level, were there catchers that would come out and be not so much encouraging as admonish you and maybe get after you a little bit to get you back on track if that's what was necessary?
Sure, and it depends on the relationship that you have with the catcher, and it depends on the person themselves. And it looks like we have a balk called.
Was that a balk? Yeah.
If we could hit a replay here, I want to see what the pitcher did. So he's on the mound, hasn't made a move. I'm also watching what's going on live. Oh, it's that little shoulder move. You see him? He leans forward a little bit, and that was perfectly enough to get the balk called. Jeff, that was so slight. 2 balls, 1 strike. Throws a fastball for a strike here. My goodness.
And a little bit of a bad break for Tovar that it comes from the umpire on the bases, not from behind home plate. So great view and a good call.
Well, the umpire is standing right there. When the runner is on first base, he's looking at the shoulders of the pitcher. That's where his eyes are. Swung on and missed, strike 2.
That's
nice.
A great breaking ball, and Jabara wants to hold up, but just comes up with just the slightest wave at it. No chance.
Here comes the 2-2. Outside corner, strike 3. And Jabara.
And that's been a strike all day.
Yeah.
And still is one. And Jabara, to his credit, knew it.
Yeah, he
Didn't see the move, didn't try to sway that decision, just slight slump of the shoulders and back to the dugout as Tovar froze him with the breaking ball.
Well, Joe Uribe up to the plate, and he's got a single into left field, and he flew out to the right side his last time up, 2 outs. Breaking ball in the dirt. Mosini not going anywhere. Ball 1. Uribe batting .361 on the season as well, and 83 at bats. He's got 20 runs batted in with 30 hits. Runner in scoring
any
position.
speed, a base hit to the outfield can get this one back to a tie game.
Fastball inside, ball 2. And Jeff, you're certainly right.
As good as Tovar has been, you're still 1 hit away from evening things up if you're Antelope Valley.
Right, and outfield playing no doubles here. Maybe they have a statistical chart here. You have the center fielder playing a little bit farther over to the right than he ordinarily would. Left fielder parked close to the line, right fielder parked close to the line, so there's a big gap at left center. We'll see if they choose to do the pitching locations to exactly how they're setting this up. But they're certainly playing no doubles here, Jeff. 2-0 count.
A little bit surprising in a 1-run game.
2-0 count, 2 outs. Pitch outside, that'll be ball 3. There is an open base at first to reinforce the force out. Now, the next batter up is Trey Thomas, who walked and flew out to left field last time. Fastball outside corner. 3-1 count. Jeff, this is a little bit more of a laborious inning.
See if Uribe has the green light here at 3-1. I'd like to see you give Joe the green light here.
Well, the sign is in. Here comes the pitch. This one hit deep into center field, drifting back and parked underneath it. He's going to make the catch, and that's Royce Clayton. Well, that's going to do it for the bottom of the 6th. The Marauders not able to put one aboard. They still trailing 2-1, and Jeff is going to have the call for 7, 8, 9 coming up here on the SoCal College Sports.
Top of the 7th inning from Lancaster, and a 2-1 lead for LA Valley. Matthew Toledo back out on the bump, 92, or I should say 74 total pitches, so he has been economical. It'll be interesting to see as we look ahead to the bottom of the 7th and beyond. Daniel Tovar at 92 total pitches. So does Dave Malice perhaps think about making a change on the mound, even as good as Tovar has been? But for the moment, it's Toledo who will go to work on Luis Torres, who's 2 for 2. First pitch in for a strike. Now
the pitch count game is what's going to be extremely important to pay attention to, and Tovar, for what it's worth, has not had to labor at all in any of his innings in these 6 innings of work.
Right center, Zhang and Rogers, and it's Zhang. We'll call him off and take it for out number 1. So Toledo gets Torres for the first time today. 1 down, and that'll bring up Valdez. High drama here in Lancaster. Well, we had it last week in a different kind of game. A 16-14 final. That was a back-and-forth affair.
17-14, Jeff.
And in a furious comeback. Yes, it was a field goal, if memory serves.
Yeah.
But that was a high-drama affair and a great comeback. But here, and the tension building as every hit and potential run so critical in a 2-1 game. It has been a fantastic pitcher's duel so far between Daniel Tovar and Matthew Toledo. The bunt down the third base line, barehanded by Johnson, whose throw is not in time. And a bunt single for Valdez.
And Jeff, that's the second time he's done that today. And I said it earlier, and I think I'm going to reiterate this point. If it's going to work and you're going to get on base, I mean, take advantage of the small game. That throw almost in time, though.
Yeah, Johnson back a couple of steps with the bases empty and 1 down in the inning. And it's good recognition from Valdez. Gets himself aboard. That'll bring up Clayton, who offers at the first pitch. Fouls it away. No balls and a strike. Clayton 0 for 3 on the day.
Oh, he said he was on a 6-game hitting streak.
Yep. And it's on the line here as he bats in the 7th. The way this one's going, this might be his last at-bat of the game. I'm sure he'd be fine with a win and a hitless day, but nonetheless, he'll try to keep it alive. 1 down. Valdez at first. No balls and a strike on Royce Clayton Jr. Another throw over.
Well, he goes with his B move first and then comes back with the A move. But Tino Valdez, he is not fooled by it.
Well, you saw last inning, Tovar having to negotiate a dangerous situation with Moseni aboard in a 1-run game. Every base runner so important, but it's every bit as true for Toledo. You really don't want to allow an insurance run for the Monarchs and give Tovar a 2-run lead or more late in this one. Past Johnson and into left field for a base hit.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Valdez going to try to make it to third, and Emery, what a massive miscue on the base pass.
Oh my goodness, I think he was trying to stretch what was absolutely just a single and move the runner over into
Yeah, let's watch Valdez here the whole way if we can.
Yeah, I mean, this ball had just been fielded, and that is exactly right in the view of the left fielder as he's throwing it in. I mean, gosh dang, that doesn't get any more textbook than that for a throw. My goodness.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's probably not aware of it, but for Valdez, that was very close to being straight out of Major League, if you remember, and the slide that came up several feet short of the bag. Fortunately for that young man, he's not in the right age cohort, but nonetheless, we saw a much more minor miscue that cost the Marauders in the first inning when Jack Rogers was caught trying to steal, and that ended up perhaps costing them a run. Line drive into right field for a base hit. Rogers up with it. Here comes the throw, not in time, and another 2-out hit, this time from Olivas, gives the Monarchs that insurance run. It's now 3-1.
Well, and Jeff, I mean, that potentially could have been worse there, considering that it was a running error by Tino Valdez that caused the runner to be off the base path.
Yeah, just to finish the point that we were making, we saw the possibility of a lost run or more for the Marauders in the first inning, but that was with the much more innocuous caught stealing for Rogers. But that one was, what a play by Toledo. nifty behind the back, and he will go to first to retire the side. But LA Valley does bring home another run on 3 hits. 7th inning stretch from Lancaster, and LA Valley pushes the lead to 3-1 on the Marauder Network here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Sophomore left-hander Josh Eigenbrot takes over for Daniel Tovar, who goes 6 innings, allowing just 1 run and leaves with a 3-1 lead. And I have to imagine if for the Marauders there isn't a collective thank you, and they'll take their chances with somebody new, anybody, because they were having all kinds of trouble with Tovar. And they'll go to work against Eigenbrot. 1 ball and no strikes on Trey Thomas, who's 0 for 1, walked and flied out.
Well, that's a solid 6 innings of work, Jeff, and this is the perfect opportunity for you to bring in your bullpen if you're confident in them. And Eigenbrock with a 4.34 ERA, that's not the stat you want to look at. He's got 3 wins, meaning he's come out of the bullpen and been able to produce wins for his team. And here's the stat that's even more scary. He's got a 1.38 whip, Jeff, which is walks and hits to innings pitched. So this guy doesn't like to walk guys, and he doesn't give up that many hits. It's just over about a walk or a hit per an inning.
Outside 2 balls and 2 strikes. Also has 28 strikeouts in 29 innings. So would appear to have pretty good stuff, at least by the numbers. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Thomas. Leading things off in the bottom of the 7th. The base hit for Olivas pushed the lead to 3-1 in the top of the inning. Thomas to be followed by Mason Johnson and Jason Zhang. Here in the bottom of the 7th, the Marauders uncharacteristically having problems getting any kind of offense going. Fouled away. Well, it's a good first at bat against a new pitcher for Trey Thomas. This will be the 7th pitch of the at bat. Gives a chance for the hitters behind to get a look at Josh Eigenbrot. Fly ball, center field, Clayton to his left for out number 1. And it would appear today, Emery, that a fly ball is a good, safe hit if you're on the mound for either team.
Yeah.
That one, again, falls short of the track by a good 15 feet.
Yeah, the ball is really not flying here today. I mean, again, we had a storm behind our heads when Bakersfield came to play, and the clouds had actually come overhead.
Hard hit ball into center field for a base hit. So a 1-out single for Johnson. And the Marauders with a base runner. But you look at some of the numbers today, and the Marauders 1 for 7 with runners on base, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position.
Now batting, Jason.
Oh, Jeff, they have
bases loaded earlier for Johnson. Sorry, Emery, and
yeah, go ahead.
Came up empty there. So the inability to come up with timely hits or put hits together has been key for the Valley. As that one gets away, and Johnson going to easily take second.
Wow, really big pass ball here for Bobby Velasco. Allows another runner to be moved into scoring position. But, Jeff, I wanted to note on something. The Marauders only with 4 hits today, and that's comparatively to the Monarchs, who have 10 coming into or 10 in this game. But the big difference maker here, AVC has 2 key errors that they have made in the field that have resulted in runs being put aboard.
2 balls and no strikes on Zhang. Flied out in the second, walked in the 5th. Zhang, after a tough outing last week in our game in the Bakersfield series, has come back in the last couple of games with 4 hits. So he's picking it back up. 2 balls and a strike. 1 down, Johnson at second. Here's the pitch from Eigenbrot. Low for a ball.
Oh, that was really close, Jeff. And he's coming in with that breaking ball, which I'm sure is his comfortable 2-1 or, 1-0 pitch where he doesn't have a strike. And that looked like he really wanted that one. Hard to tell, but it looked like it crossed as a strike. But biggest thing here is not overreacting.
Strike zone being larger. Line drive down the right field line. Fair ball. This is going to get the Marauders back within a run. Watch Zhang. He's at second, and he's going to hold up there with a stand-up double.
Well, Jeff, this pitch comes inside, and he's right on top of the plate. If we watch the replay of this really quick, you're going to see Zhang standing practically on top of the plate when he takes that swing. Oh, you don't get to see it too much, but does a great job of going inside out hitting. You know who is the best at that of all time? Derek Jeter. And, what an awesome job of taking that pitch to the right side and allowing his runner enough time. Not that Mason Johnson really needed it. He's pretty quick on his feet as well. But excellent work of hitting and running here for the Marauders. That's good. That's a really good sign here in the 7th inning. And man, you made the point earlier. Daniel Tovar had him pretty much on the run, and a pitching change making a huge difference as we have a conversation between the umpires.
10th double of the season for Zhang. And the Marauders erased the insurance run. And were they appealing? Maybe that he missed the bag at first, because it looked like there was an indication there.
Yeah, I think they might have been appealing.
Let's
go ahead and roll that back one more time, because I think we had a camera on the base runner. At least you could see where he was. Nope, certainly not that camera. He definitely touched third. Shalette, if we could roll that back one more time and just watch it from that camera, the camera 2. If we have time. Does he touch the bag? Yes, he does. All right, no question about it. Yes, line drive, hit up the middle, and this is going to send another runner. Here we go. Jack Taylor delivers a huge RBI, and Zhang is going to come in to score, and the Marauders in the bottom of the 7th inning have tied the game up. And I apologize, Jeff, to take the call from you, but another piece of timely hitting from Jack Taylor.
Well, that's fine. Taylor with the base hit has tied it up. And let's watch the replay. And Eigenbrot trying for the outside corner. And this would appear to be exactly what the Marauders were looking for. Getting the new pitcher and a different look after struggling so much with Tovar. Meanwhile, now they can look for the lead as the first pitch outside for a ball.
Well, Eigenbrot
back to the top of the order with Jack Rogers, who's 0 for 2 with a walk.
Eigenbrot certainly not doing what they wanted him to do here, despite having a low whip number and a relatively low ERA for a bullpen pitcher. This is certainly not going to bode well for the record, at least in the statistical side.
Well, it's hard to tell when you're looking on a screen, but it looks to me that Eigenbrot is much more of a pitcher that works off of a couple of pitches, maybe a fastball slider type pitcher of more similar speed versus Tovar, who really seem to mix up the speeds and locations. And both can be successful. I'm not suggesting that both can't work, but that Eigenbrot, to me, as I'm watching, and it'd be interesting, Emery, you're there, so I know you see, not so much changing speeds like we saw from Tovar.
Yeah, and that might have been a tactical decision by the coach.
Having said that, it looked like he took a little something off on that breaking ball and had Rogers way out in front.
Yeah,
2 balls, 2 strikes.
He really did, and that might have been a tactical decision by the coach to try and see if they can switch things up and just keep the hitters off balance. But for the Marauders, who are having such a hard time figuring out Daniel Tovar, this actually might have been a reprieve.
Well, and again, Tovar with 92 pitches through 6 innings. And no doubt that was an important part of the decision. And you give the Marauders a lot of credit for working deeper counts. As you mentioned earlier in the inning, only 4 hits. So they haven't been putting a ton of runners on board yet. They were working deep enough counts that they were able to get Tovar to that higher pitch count.
Yeah, and that goes for – that's exactly what I was trying to explain there. And, Jeff, you get a guy to 91, 92, 93, 94 pitches, and all of a sudden it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, especially into the 6th inning. That's a lot of work going into the 7th after that. Certainly my longest outing was 114 pitches in 7 innings pitched at Golden West College back in 2017. I tell you what, once you get over the hump of 100, man, every pitch just feels like it's going to – it feels like a car that has a whole bunch of bolts and screws loose, and you feel like, man, at any moment I might just fall down. But I tell you what, Jeff, that was a heck of an effort by Tovar, and that's all been erased at this point.
And you can hardly afford to go to sleep even for a moment against this Marauder lineup now. As I say, they're looking for the lead. Rogers with a good cut, but fouls it back to the screen.
Well, you see him falling forward as he took that hack, and that ball came directly back towards us, Jeff. That's the signs of a batter who's seeing the ball. He's up on the plate. He's not as backed off as he was earlier. Remember, he had that walk in the 1st inning, so he saw a lot of pitches, and that might have been just the story of the entire game there. The first batter that Tovar throws today, he walks, and it was on exactly 6 pitches thrown.
Hit hard into center field for a base hit. Clayton quickly there to get it back in. But Rogers keeps the inning going. Now 2 on, still only 1 out. It's 4 consecutive hits off of Eigenbrot after he got Thomas to start the inning.
Oh, and here comes the pitching coach, I think. The pitching coach for, looks like that's a pitching coach walk if I've ever seen one, Jeff. Here comes the pitching coach for the Monarchs.
And if you have to guess, and I know it's on the spot, but what does he say to his young pitcher in this situation?
Well, it's a number of things. My favorite comment from a pitching coach to me, usually if I was having a little bit of a rough outing, was, "What did you eat for lunch so that I know not to go eat that thing?" That's usually what you would start the conversation off with. And it's a conversation where you're trying to take the ice or take the take the ice away from the situation. You all of a sudden start feeling a little bit gun shy, start feeling a little bit cold out there, and you don't know who you can trust. The job of the pitching coach is to instill confidence back in his pitcher. You've just given up 4 hits. You've just given up the lead. You need to tell him, hey, you know what? Our hitters got you. You just need to go out there and execute. You got 1 out. We can get this taken care of. There's a force at all bases. Just go out and execute your job. Pitch who you are. Don't try to be bigger than the situation.
Yeah, I mean, 1 pitch, and they can get out of the inning with 1 out. Breaking ball in for a strike to Terry. No balls and a strike. Zach Terry 0 for 3 on the day. Flied out, struck out, and grounded out.
Well, and the middle infield has certainly shown that they can flip the double play, Jeff, so you are completely correct.
They did so back in the 5th. No balls and a strike. Good fastball. A couple of good pitches from Eigenbrot, and he's got Terry no balls and 2 strikes. But Terry, such good command of the strike zone, returning sophomore. And still some work to do for Josh Eigenbrot. Strikeout would be huge for the Monarchs. Here's the 0-2. Popped up, right side. White over near the fence, going to run out of room. Terry's still alive.
Jeff, you're right on top of it there. The strikeout would be absolutely pivotal in this inning, considering how he's been hit. And that would be, at least from my perspective, if I got a strikeout in this situation, that would give me at least the confidence where I think, okay, the end of the inning is close. I can get there. A lot of times when you have 1 out and 2 runners on, it's like, man, this inning's never going to end.
Fly ball right field. Olivas in front of the track. Reaches up and makes the catch. Out number 2. Well, good news, bad news if you're the Monarchs, as Taylor moves to 3rd. You're 1 out away, but the 1 out is Keon Moseni.
Jeff, we talk about so often how baseball can be poetic, and who else would you want up at the plate in this situation? He got on last inning with a walk. He had the long home run in the 1st to start things off. Does he have another moment inside
hit the ball hard every time up, and pretty much every time up in April. So 2 down, runners at the corners, and Moseni looking to give the Marauders the lead. First pitch way outside for ball 1, and a nice job by Velasco. So easy to forget. 1 gets back to the screen, and it doesn't matter what Moseni does.
Yeah.
The Marauders have the lead.
Yeah, Velasco doing a great
ball
job.
And no strikes.
He did a great job there of getting behind the ball. He had 1 slip away earlier that allowed a runner to move over, and that was it's a good job of getting behind the ball.
Off speed and a beauty on the outside corner. 1-1. Moseni, the one left-handed bat in the lineup for the Marauders, working against the left-hander Eigenbrot. 1-1 pitch. Off speed, 2 balls and a strike.
I wonder. It's interesting there. He came with the curveball or the breaking ball to for strike 1 there in the 1-0 count, and then he comes back with a high fastball. If he comes with a breaking ball here, I would not be surprised, because that usually that kind of pitch is an eye adjuster, seeing if you can generate a swing.
2-1, slow curve, way high, 3 balls and a strike.
So he tried to do it, Jeff. I just want it to be known. The record is set.
Aiden Jabara waiting on deck. If Moseni can keep the inning going, there's Rogers at 1st, Taylor at 3rd. Here's the 3-1. Just outside for a ball. Eigenbrot wanted the call but didn't get it. And now they're loaded for Aiden Jabara. Well, Jabara may be as happy as anybody to see a new pitcher. Struck out the last 2 times he saw Tovar. That after a base hit back in the 1st.
Well, and that base hit in the first
a chance here against.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Josh Eigenbrot.
Yeah. That base hit in the first was an infield base hit. And after the last at bat, he walked away from the plate before the call was even made. So you're certainly correct there, Jeff.
First pitch low, and again, Velasco comes up big. Tie game here in the bottom of the 7th. And that was one that so easily could have gotten away. One ball and no strikes on Jabara. Jabara 1 for 7 in the series. On the inside corner.
Well, he definitely seems confident with that breaking ball when he's throwing it behind in the count.
One to Jabara. Back to the breaking ball and inside. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, he decides to double up here, and he kind of digs himself in a hole. He gives a fastball from the left side to a right-handed batter, and if he tries to come across inside with it, it's going to be pretty wide open, and I'm pretty sure he has a green light if he gets a pitch that he likes here. We'll see where the catcher sets up.
Line drive down the right field line, just foul.
Goodness.
2-2. Jabara hit it hard. And taking a look at the stats, and Jabara 22 walks on the season. That's second on the team. So Eigenbrot gonna have to be careful. Just saw Jabara hit the ball hard, but he's got it to 2-2. Up on the rubber, here we go. Tried the outside corner. 3-2. With the 2 strikeouts today, Jabara is now up to 37 strikeouts on the season. So good command of the strike zone, but also a free swinger. Is that possible?
A full count, big situation here. Every kid's dream.
Here's the payoff. Fouled away. Good pitch from Eigenbrot and a good job by Jabara to fight it off. That was a slider working down and in on the hands. Steve Carlton special. Pretty hard to saw off a metal bat, but good job getting that slider inside in on the hands.
Yeah, he definitely hit his spot there, Jeff. Now, usually in a 3-2 count, if you throw a breaking ball, you try to double up here. We'll see what he decides to go with.
3-2. Bouncing ball back up the middle. It gets through for a base hit. The Marauders have the lead. 2 runs will score as Rogers, running with the pitch, easily scores a 4-run 7th, and the Marauders are back out in front 5-3.
Now batting, Joe Uribe.
Well, Jeff, I apologize. We got a little excited here in the broadcast booth, and everybody in the booth here had their hats off, begging for some change after we just did Deuces Wild, where you take 2 fingers and rub them on the bill of your hat. It's supposed to give you good luck, and I suppose my years in college baseball did not go to waste. The Marauders, with some huge hitting from Hayden Jabara. It's not how you start the game or even how you play in the middle. It's how you finish and how key you are. And goodness gracious, Jeff, we have a good game here going in the 7th inning.
Well, it's ironic and somewhat fitting on the day that it was a seeing eye single from Jabara. He didn't exactly knock the cover off the ball. The Marauders have not, with the exception of the Moseni home run, really hit the ball that hard today. But maybe for the first time today, a little bit of a break and a timely hit finds its way through the infield in a 2-run single. And AVC grabs the 5-3 lead. We'll come back, tell you about the new pitcher from Lancaster. It's Marauder Baseball on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Freshman Zach Perez takes over in the bottom of the 7th, his 12th appearance on the season. An ERA of 4.82, a record of 3-2 in 28 innings of work. He's given up 24 hits, walked 18, struck out 16. So unlike the first two pitchers of the day, Zach Perez, control could potentially be an issue. Nonetheless, comes on with the Monarchs trailing at 5-3 as the Marauders bat in the bottom of the 7th. Joe Uribe coming to the plate with 2 on and 2 out. Uribe 1 for 3, a single and a pair of flyouts. First pitch way high from Perez. 1 ball, no strikes. There is Moseni at second. Aiden Jabara, the hero of moments ago with the 2-run single to give the Marauders the lead at first. 1 ball, no strikes. Perez ready. Slow curve, high, 2 balls and no strikes. Well, if you're the Marauders, you're certainly not going to say no to some breathing room. Still going here in the bottom of the 7th with Uribe at the plate. Antelope Valley bats have finally broken through. Sky high, center field for Clayton. To retire the side. But the Marauders with 4 big runs on 5 hits. No errors, 2 left on base. We head to the 8th. ABC out in front 5-3 here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Right-hander Sam Maudsley, the sophomore, takes over here in the 8th inning after Matthew Toledo goes 7 innings, allowing 3 runs, and leaves with the lead. And now Maudsley and the Marauder bullpen will try to close it out. Way inside, 1 ball and no strikes. Woo. Maudsley will face Sean David, Max Odd, and Will White. 3, 4, 5 coming up in the top of the 8th, and the Monarchs trailing for the first time since very early on. We'll have to try to muster a comeback. Fastball at the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike. Maudsley making his 9th appearance of the season. Record of 0-2. An ERA of 8.83. Off speed, bouncing ball to third. Johnson will gather, and in time to get David by a step. First out here in the 8th.
That's a nice place breaking ball there on that side. He's trying to pull that breaking ball You see him. His bat just kind of ran into the location of the ball, but that was very good job of pitching from Maudsley, especially considering how he started that at bat with the curveball over the back of the head of the batter.
That'll bring up Max Odd, outside for a ball. Odd, 1 for 3. Have a base hit back in the 4th inning. Sam Maudsley from Anchorage. A ball and a strike. Does have a save on the season, and he is on here in a save situation if he can close it out, as the Monarchs bat in the 8th, cued foul. A ball and 2 strikes. Max Odd, a huge game in game 1 of this series, 4 for 5. And that was his first 4-hit game of the season in the big win for the Monarchs. Comebacker and a great play by Maudsley. He'll go to first, 2 down, and think back to the nifty play by Toledo. And Toledo had another play, as my memory comes back now, on a bunt up the first base line, and he fielded the position well. So the Marauder hurlers helping themselves in the field in this one, without a doubt. 2 down, bases empty, and it will bring up Will White. First pitch, low and away. 1-0 on White, who's 0 for 3. Flied out his last time up. Had a couple of hits in game 1, 2 for 5. Back to the mound with the bunt, and Maudsley will take care of it himself again to retire the side. 3 up, 3 down for the Monarchs in the 8th. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning. AVC 3 outs away. They lead at 5-3 on the Marauder Network. Trey Thomas will lead things off against Zach Perez. It was Thomas who led off the 7th inning. Did fly out to start things before the Marauders got things going in the 4-run inning to take the lead, but back to Thomas to lead things off here in the 8th. Slow curve in for a strike. No balls and a strike on Thomas, who's 0 for 2 with a walk. Marauders looking for another come-from-behind win at home here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. A ball and a strike. Also looking to get back to their winning ways if they can win here today. It'll be 3 wins in their last 4. One ball and 2 strikes on Thomas. It'll be Thomas, Johnson, and Zhang in the bottom of the 8th. And Marauders would love to put another couple across and give them some real breathing room heading into the 9th. Right now they lead it by 2. Popped up. Torres, and now it's Valdez who will come all the way across and take it for out number 1.
Now, Jeff, that's just plain disrespect. That's all I got to say about that right there. Shortstop didn't need to call up the second baseman on that. But he does carry the right to do so because he is the shortstop.
Well, I will say this. Sometimes, and I'll give myself away here that I play a little bit of pickleball, and sometimes you are calling for a shot in doubles that you think is yours, and as you get closer to the ball, you realize more and more that it wasn't your ball, but you've already called for it. So what are you going to do? You have to keep going. If,
you just commit
Valdez
to it. Don't second guess.
Yeah, if you've called everybody off, well, you have to go get the ball. And Valdez, to his credit, did range all the way over. Meanwhile, Johnson retired 3rd to 1st, and 2 down quickly here in the 8th for Perez. And it will bring up Jason Zhang.
Remember, Zhang just an inning ago, the fire starter for everything that happened in that 7th inning.
Yeah, the double really got things going, eventually came around to score. And there is Zhang, who's now hitting 3 straight. 0-1 pitch. Bouncing ball on the short hop, David. Nice play, goes across, 3 up, 3 down for Perez, and we will head to the 9th where the Marauders will try to close this one out. They lead it 5-3 here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Top of the 9th. And Maudsley back out on the bump. And he will work to Elvis Park, Luis Torres, and Tino Valdez. Trying to bring home this win for ABC. Breaking ball in for a strike. No balls and a strike. On Park, who's 1 for 3. Park, an interesting case. Now, 8 for 20 over his last 6 games, and he's raised his average from 260 up over 300. So picking it up as this season goes on, he's in a hole now, no balls and 2 strikes. And Maudsley with a 3 up, 3 down inning in the 8th, and now out in front of Park. Whew. Back to the fastball, and he blew it by him. What a sequence from Maudsley. 1 down.
Gosh, well, Jeff, this is a perfect example of effectively using a curveball early on in a count. And curveballs account for, I think, 80% of at bats ending up in outs if you throw a first pitch curveball for a strike. Gosh, Jeff, he comes back with a breaking ball there. That's I believe a sinker.
No balls and a strike on Torres, who's 2 for 3. Do want to thank our team today, Matt and Scott Tyndall. It's broadcast directed by Eric Gillette. No balls and two strikes. Of course, SoCalCollegeSports.com. Broadcast executive producer Mike Spada. Emery Johnson pulling all kinds of duty today. Color, play-by-play, production.
Driving all the
pretty much worn every hat. A ball and two strikes.
Including the hat of camera operator in the summer in Bakersfield for women's softball and in Fresno for baseball back in 2017. I just want that to be known.
This guy can handle some heat. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I don't think I've recovered from that trip, actually, still.
I think Fresno on Memorial Day weekend, that's as tough of conditions as it gets.
Yeah. But it is all to put out the great production that we do here, and it's all organized and brought together by Mike Cepeda, I have to say, and everybody here for what it's worth put in their efforts, and gosh, just what a great team we have here. And Jeff, I also want to extend a thank you for you just bringing such a good voice and just reason to every single call that you have here, and it's just been such a joy listening to you.
Yeah, thank you. I've been busy this week, haven't I? A little bit of golf, and now it's baseball today. They got me moving around. Torres retired by a step. Nice play by Terry moving to his right for out number 2. And now Maudsley, who has retired all 5 batters he has faced, is an out away. And it will be Tino Valdez, who's 2 for 3 in the game with a couple of singles.
Yeah, but what kind of singles were those, Jeff?
Well, you have the more detailed scoreboard
I do.
Than I do. I can only tell you in my shorthand that he's got a couple of singles. You've got the more specifics.
Well, I'll tell you the first one in the 3rd inning was a bunt down the first base line, and the one in the 7th inning was a bunt down the 3rd base line.
No balls and a strike. So he's looking to get the ball out of the infield. But either way, he needs to reach any way he can. And did he? There he did, as he's hit by the pitch. So Maudsley puts Valdez aboard, and now the Monarchs will bring the potential tying run to the plate in Royce Clayton Jr.
Well, he had a base hit his last time up to the plate, and he moved on the fielder's choice to second base.
And I think Maudsley, as you see on the replay there, is trying to plead the case that he made no effort to get out of the way of that ball. But, Emery, I think he really needs to just compartmentalize that, put it away, and get back to work, because this is a 2-run game. You're still only 1 out away. So take a little lap like you did, but forget it and get this guy and finish this one out.
You're exactly right, Jeff. You are only as good as the batter who's in the batter's box, when you're pitching to him. And your focus needs to be there, not on the runner on first base. That's up to your coach to make that plea for sure. But, at the end of the day, he's I'm sure extremely competitive, wants to get out of this inning. And but generally when the batter is not leaning over the plate or leaning out of the batter's box to get hit by the ball, if you just turn your shoulders, that's enough for most umpires.
And it gets away. Valdez runs into Thomas, but he's got plenty of time, and he'll make it to at least second.
He's all the way to third, Jeff.
Yeah, it did come all the way around to third. Now, for the Marauders, not of particular import. That run is absolutely meaningless, but it does take away the force, and now a count of 1 ball and no strikes, and Clayton at the plate with 2 down. Clayton 1 for 4 in the game, did extend his hitting streak to 7 games with a base hit back in the 7th. He did come around to score. But again, for Maudsley, the mandate here is a simple one. He's got to get 1 more out. Valdez doesn't mean anything at third.
Jeff, this is exactly what I was trying to reference here is, don't worry about that runner at first base. He's not your concern at this time. It doesn't matter what you think he did in that bat to get on the bag. Don't try to, get too tricky and pick him off, because you're taking all that energy and all that thought process and applying it to what's going on later. And that pickoff was probably a result of exactly that.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. It's something that I thought I saw on the replay. I'm not in Sam Maudsley's head or there, so I'm speculating a little bit on what might have been his reaction. But want to be clear about that this is some speculation on my part about what might be going through Maudsley's head.
Well,
Meanwhile,
for sure,
he's got it to 1-2.
Yeah, his coach for sure came out and had a conversation with the umpire about it. So it was definitely probably something being chirped from the umpire. Wow, that was a nice breaking ball there.
Yeah, just missed it as it was tailing in, and that's a call that has been a fairly generous outside portion of that plate, but Maudsley doesn't get it there. Clayton's still alive, the count 2-2. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. He gets Clayton, and the Marauders have the 5-3 win here in Lancaster. What a great comeback with the 4-run seventh, and AVC evens up this series at a game apiece. They move their record to 15-20 overall, 6-11 in conference. They're now 10-7 at home, so they stay tough here in Lancaster. For LA Valley, they fall to 21-15. They're 12-5 in conference play, 3.5 games behind Glendale College, having another dominant season atop the Western State South. But Emery, I'll give you a chance for a final thought here on a great win for the Marauders here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. A comeback variety once again.
Jeff, this is just a good job of the this is a good job of the Marauders not getting too discouraged, especially as the first pitcher for the Monarchs, Daniel Tovar, was just so dominant through 6 innings. But at the end of the day, having a good plan and sticking to that plan and not letting things get too out of control as the game progressed, they kept to the game plan, which was just seeing a lot of pitches and allowing the situation to come to you. You know, the next pitcher who came in, take advantage of anything that he gives you, and they did exactly that. This is a good team win, and AVC should feel very good about this going into the locker room.
A reminder, we'll be back on Saturday for Game 3 of this series here from Lancaster. For everybody here at SoCalCollegeSports.com, thanks so much for joining us. So long, everybody. We'll see you Saturday.